Hey folks, my name is Mo Amir and this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight it's full send Gen Z edition. 3 guests, all under 30. What is their problem? VANCOLOUR's own Nina Savage will spill the Z on her generation's anxiety and angst. Plus, where does Gen Z land politically? And how is it different from old-ass millennials like myself? We'll get into it with the Conservative Party of BC's Angelo Isidoro. But first, the millionaires and the billionaires, Wall Street and corporate oligarchs, the alleged pedophiles of the Epstein list. No, we're not talking about the left-wing populism coming out of New York City. We're talking about something happening right here in British Columbia, and we're talking to the young woman raising these issues, the new leader of the BC Green Party, Emily Lowan. Emily, hello. What a pleasure to have you on the show.
So great to be here, Mo.
So during your leadership run for the BC Greens, which obviously you won, you were talking about this connection between sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who's no longer alive, and British Columbia's liquefied natural gas LNG industry. Can you explain the connection to me?
Absolutely. So, as you said, Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but his billionaire clients are still out there trying to buy up and control BC's resources. Critical here is Leon Black, who's a longstanding confidant and backer of Jeffrey Epstein. And Leon Black was the founder of Apollo Global Management, which was the earliest supporter of Western LNG. I feel like I need to get my red string out here.
No, I appreciate that. We're putting it together. Okay.
And so, yeah, basically Western LNG, it's a Texas-based firm that's the proponent of the Ksi Lisims liquefied natural gas terminal off the coast of BC, which feeds the Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline. And so basically, Apollo Global Management has been a key part of this story, and it was recently exposed over the weekend through the New York Times investigation, just how close Leon Black of Apollo and Epstein were working together. So basically, Leon became the closest backer of Jeffrey Epstein in basically the decade leading up to his death. And unfortunately, there was about $170 million that seemed to be sort of exchanged between Epstein and Leon Black.
That we can't track to
financial advice.
That was my next question. Wow. Okay.
And but in this investigation, it was revealed that some of that money was directly for advice related to Leon Black's sexual assault of about 8 women. So it is a direct line between Epstein and Leon Black. And that's not the only connection there. So basically, in 2021, Black was over these close ties to Epstein. He was forced to step down, understandably, from Apollo Global Management, but he still holds billions in stakes in this company, and so he'll be the one getting rich off of these LNG projects should they move ahead.
That's fascinating. Now, when we talk about the millionaires and the billionaires, we can't forget about U.S. President Donald Trump. And obviously our premier, BC Premier David Eby, has taken a rhetorical stand against the U.S. president and saying that we're not going to support, things that would benefit that president. But you're saying there's actually a link between our LNG industry and the U.S. president.
Exactly. And Eby's elbows up shtick is just a glaring hypocrisy because it goes deeper than that. Obviously, Donald Trump is also a close confidant of Blackstone. I don't know if you've seen that connection before. They were driving some of the 2008 financial crisis, but
this is the private equity firm?
The American private equity firm. That's right. So he's a very close very close with their CEO, Steve Schwartzman, who has been, Blackstone is now involved with the Ksi Lisims terminal as well. And so that's another core backer of the project. Steve Schwartzman, he, I think, made the top 10 list for donations to the Trump campaign in the last election and has been a longtime advisor since 2016. So
interesting.
Yeah, I think this whole elbows up idea is clearly such a hypocrisy when reporters asked David Eby about these connections, about the connections to Blackstone and Apollo. Eby just said, we're not turning away investment. From guys like Leon Black and Steve Schwartzman.
So let's get into that, because a lot of people will say, well, you know what, at least this money is coming into British Columbia. It's going to result in revenue for the government, which will then fund social services. It will result in new jobs for British Columbians. And there will even be Indigenous ownership over, these LNG pipelines. So, net effect, like, it sucks that it's related to these guys, but net effect, like, doesn't that help British Columbians to get these projects off the ground?
Yeah, so let's break it down. Basically, Ksi Lisims has an Indigenous name, but no Indigenous ownership. It's effectively American all the way down.
I thought the Premier said that there was Indigenous ownership. Am I wrong?
Their substantial start report says otherwise. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Western LNG, which is a Texas-based firm backed by Apollo Global Management and these other companies I mentioned.
Okay.
And it's also being built by Bechtel, which is American military contractor with deep ties to the Trump administration. And then obviously the ties to American equity firms in Trump's inner circle. So yeah, we're not seeing the benefit there flow to nations and British Columbians. And then in terms of jobs, the Ksi Lisims terminal is actually going to be built in Korea and floated over to the coast of BC.
Oh, what?
So that means that we're using Korean steel, and we're using, like, all the high-paid jobs are going to be overseas, and we'll just have sort of a small bump in construction jobs, but there's a very small number of long-term jobs to operate these facilities. So, and then of course, the revenue front. It was actually Shell's CEO at a New York shareholders meeting last week who was really warning about the boosterism and inflation of the LNG market, and that we're headed towards a global supply glut of this market around 2030 when these projects are slated to come online, like precisely that year. And so, we'll be a high cost late market entrant when these projects come online, and it'll require billions and billions in taxpayer subsidies. LNG Canada Phase 1 alone cost us at least $6 billion, and other projects are expecting similar deals.
Interesting. Now, we have about 40 seconds here before I have to let you go. A lot of people are going to look at this and go, this is an interesting conversation, but do you really want the BC Green Party to be an activist party, or are you proposing solutions that perhaps are more, let's say, palatable and material to British Columbians' needs?
Mm-hmm. And I'm proposing that we address our deficit and revenue issues, and to pay workers and address our severe gap in social services by taxing BC's richest 1%, the richest landowners and corporations,
the millionaires and the billionaires,
and so and because we've seen a huge, like, basically in 2000, during the Gordon Campbell years, there was a huge reversal in our corporate tax regime and for the 1% effectively. So they were getting rich through the early 2000s. And now BC has the highest rate of wealth inequality in all of Canada.
Wow.
And the NDP just haven't reversed those changes.
Emily, I appreciate what you bring to the conversation. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Mo.
Folks, that was the leader of the BC Green Party, Emily Lowan. Now, after some business, where does Gen Z really land politically? We'll get into it up next.